You're listening to the Every Student, Every Day podcast with me, Jim Franchini, Superintendent of the Averill Park Central School District. So welcome to this episode of the Every Student, Every Day podcast. And we try to get a wide range of guests on our show, and no disappointment with this one. We are really, really excited to have with us today, first of all, an Averill Park alum, which is always fantastic. Someone who has come back here to Averill Park to contribute to their community, and someone who is a muralist and an art educator. For those who don't know, he's currently working on a giant mural project down at Algonquin. Got to see it for myself today in process. It is unbelievable, and I got to tell you, just to be honest, totally blew away my expectations of what this was going to look like. You have to see it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome this episode's guest, Eugene O'Neill, to our podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, James, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
But maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about what it is that you actually do and where do you do it and what have you done, and kind of give them, maybe fill in those gaps of what your background is so they know a little bit more about you. Well,
I graduated from Averill Park in 2008, and the lovely Marcia Gregory is the reason I went to college. She forced me to go to college, and I never would have thought to go to college to be an art teacher. I laughed in her face. I did theatrically, and when I was done, she was like, "Do you want to know why I think you should be an art teacher?" And the long and short of it is that she said, during group critique, you do three things better than anyone. And so I'm like, I'm listening. And she said, well, one, you are really good at showing people what they did amazing. Two, you're really good at identifying what's not working or what needs work. But most importantly, Eugene, she says, three, you show them how to get there on their own. And that was such a striking moment for me as a kid. Not really thinking like, okay, you should go to college because you're an amazing painter. It was like, you're really good at helping people realize things. You should go to school for this thing. And I was like, all right, I'll do your little college thing. And I ended up going to St. Rose, her alum. So who's better to paint the Golden Knight than myself? But so I went to college for art education. Didn't really trust public education in 2012 because, that was the peak of APPR SLO standards changing. I didn't feel any job security. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I got offered a job at Troy High, and I didn't end up taking it. My concentration was printmaking, and during printmaking, I saw a girl print on a t-shirt one day, and I tried it, and I never stopped. I became obsessed with making clothes. And I started a screen printing and embroidery business. I've actually done clothes for Averill Park High School. I printed for them, and so for the last 14 years, I had a screen printing and embroidery business, and I've been making a lot of clothes for everyone and anyone. And during that time, it was my way out. It was my safe way out. It was like, things are on my terms and I'm still creating, and I love this process. But I was always itching to be in education. I still needed to do that. So I was doing clothes for school organizations, community organizations that dealt with youth. And that was like my fix. So one day, one of the organizations that works in the schools in Albany, they were like, we want to do murals on Red X buildings in Albany, the condemned ones, for those who don't know Red X. And but we want kids to do the murals. So would you make up a program? I was like, absolutely. So that was my first program. We did the murals around Henry Johnson and Clinton, the ladybugs and the balloon mural. One unfortunately just got torn down, but one remains supreme, and it's lasted for over a decade now. That started everything, and murals became a hobby, but they were me teaching kids how to paint murals. It's like, if I didn't have these opportunities as a kid, I was going to make sure that they did. So I've done a lot of youth mural programming. And then at a certain point, I just started doing my own murals, and that was about 8 years ago. And then I've done them all throughout. up until now. And then 2 years ago, I made the jump to do it full time. So now I'm just full time with murals and youth programming. I do a lot of wellness with kids, and that really took off. So I get booked and there's no time to do clothes anymore. Now I'm just in schools, I'm at businesses, I'm out in the community and creating large murals or creating murals in schools or doing a lot of wellness with kids and doing a lot of wellness development with staff and teachers as well.
That's quite a journey, and I think it really talks about the impact that our teachers have on their students. I mean, what an example of that. Thank you for sharing.
How did you enjoy the experience today?
That was very cool. That was really cool. Again, not knowing what to expect in terms of the size of the mural and the process. And I was a middle school Algonquin principal and assistant principal. So, I know that age group, and they're not the easiest age group to keep focused and attentive. And there you could tell they were understanding the significance of the process. And that was nice.
Yeah, it's all about presence. It's the language that I set it up with. And if I'm very easygoing, but if I start to get serious, they start to get serious because I don't show them anything else but cool, calm,
Right.
But when they hear that, they're like, oh, I don't want to be that guy.
Right. So not your first rodeo.
No. I went to school for art education, so.
Oh.
Yeah. Ironically at St. Rose, so who better to paint a golden knight than me?
That's right.
Everyone's up in arms online, and I was it was quite a stir. Yeah, I saw a lot of people. It's interesting, you get that sports is my identity. It's kind of that same way with where you came from in schools, and it's funny how people can't process change in a way sometimes.
Really struggled with it. Absolutely. Really struggled. And I think identity is a key word there. It was really...
Yeah, you form experiences and you attach it to the place. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's not really about the place, it's you.
I think we're getting there, but...
I think it's stuff like this that gets us there, It's I actually, I had a kid today be like, maybe we should put some hidden ode to warrior in the mural somewhere. And I was like, that's the most genius suggestion I've had all week.
We could actually.
So why not, right? It's let's honor where we came from, just like the elementary schools. So I think I'm going to do that somewhere.
That's interesting.
It's wow, I did not expect that. But
yeah, you're an AP high school grad, you came here, went here, grew up here, and now you've gone on, you create these amazing public art displays all over the country. What was it like working with Algonquin students in your own community? And did anything surprise you or inspire you during that process? What was it like to just be back here doing what you do and love and are so talented at it right here in your own backyard?
Well, James, I'll tell you what's crazy is me seeing that sign for the class of 2032, and now my class grade being divisible by that number is crazy. That's what's crazy. Seeing the names on that list of the student signatures and knowing their parents, that's where we're at. We're 4 school cycles away from where I had graduated, and to be back here is truly a dream. You think about, I've muraled everywhere. I've muraled in so many schools and schools across the country, West Coast mainly. To be back home is a full circle moment. I mean, I think any muralist who does work in schools, that's a dream. That's where you want to be, is going back to your childhood home and being able to make an impression, a mark, inspiration, a few select teachers and a few select individuals that have really shaped how I've stayed within education, how I've worked with children, how I've engaged my community. And to be that person for them now is the most important thing that I could ever do. It's really important to me. I think what's really striking about these children is that they're so engaged, nothing is going over their heads. They're really meeting me where I'm at. They're excited. They're asking questions. They're engaging with me. And there's been a lot of respect around the process, and they're adapting, right? We got a new mascot. I'm painting a golden knight on the wall, and They have to figure out what that means for them. And that's really what the mural is about. It's about identity forming. It's about them understanding where they came from and where we're going. So there's a lot of teachable moments in the mural, and I've been having a lot of intimate experiences with all the art teachers have been bringing down students every day to talk to me, to learn, to have a little bit of time to talk to me, and I've been delighted.
That's awesome, and the feedback has been unbelievably positive from our teachers and from the community. What do you hope people see or feel when they look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really about them. It's one, it's comfort. Two, it's joy. And then three, it's a vision. It's a visual mechanism to show them where they've come from. And as I was talking today with the students, the knight is holding the sword and is pointing out towards the golden way, the text. And it's like, really, in middle school, it's this weird in-between where they were babies and they're something now, and then they're going to be young adults soon. And really, they are the sword. They're this waypoint where they came from somewhere, which is kind of that representation of the mascots, the elementary school mascots within the mural. And that sword is pointing towards the golden way, and it is that direction to move forward. So it's good that I got to speak with them and spend time with them and teach these principles so it doesn't go over anyone's head. Like, all of them have heard what I think and feel about the mural. And it's this idea that the visualizations within the mural are those teachings of their personal development, and it's whether they form identity here, whether they form things that they like and love. It's really just a creative visual to make sure that they remember that things are about the community in which they are. How do we become this Golden Knight community? But ultimately, how do we become the Golden Knight ourselves? Like, what is our character? Who is under that mask? Who is it all under the armor?
Your reference to the mascots of the 3 elementary schools, I think, was my own personal favorite part today. Mm-hmm. And you kind of see it, and all of a sudden you realize, like, wait a minute, that was such a creative idea to do it that way. It was fantastic.
Well, especially with there's a lot of stir about this Golden Knight. There's an identity crisis, so to speak. We don't know who we are. We were the warriors, and it's this idea that, like, well, no matter what, we know where we came from, and they find comfort in that. That's why all the animals surround the knight, because these two things are the same. It's like it doesn't matter what the word is, what the representation is. It's like it's the experience you had in these places. So let's mold them all together and then move forward towards the golden way. The golden way is just them learning character development, So it's a way that they can contextually learn it, but feel comforted by the animals.
For that, it's very well done. So on your website, you talk about using art to explore truth and help people see the world differently. How does that idea show up in your work, maybe in general? And I don't know if you can tie that into the mural that you're doing now, but how do those kind of concepts of truth and seeing the world differently factor into what you do?
Yeah, well, my brand is Made in Truth, and it's always been that. With clothes, it was that, and now with murals and programs, it's that. And it's like, with a lot of my programming, it's all about them shaping identity, self-awareness, self-discovery, connection to environment, and connection to presence, being present and being ready for whatever is coming your way. So that shows up in a lot of different ways, because I've done murals for very different organizations. It's not just schools, stuff for the YWCA, which is a women's shelter. And then I've done a lot of stuff in the community, in the city, in very sketchy areas that needed a lot of love. And just like this blank wall that we had, I turn a sketchy alleyway into an oasis that you want to sit down and read a book and, eat a piece of pizza. I think ultimately what you're there to find, whether you're young or old, is childlike wonder. I think it's reinvigorating the spirit with color, with eye-popping visuals, whether I'm there to teach them something or whether I'm there to give them a moment to step off their phone, walk a little slower, take a deep breath, and be present. That's where truth finds itself, because we're always moving to the next thing. And if I can break that cycle of I'm too busy to do this, then I've done my job, and in those moments, I'm always the one who's overworking, but I read something recently that said discovery happens in boredom, because your mind actually has enough time to cycle through thoughts that aren't like a task list. And I've been trying to adapt that more recently, because I'm always the person that's like, I'm never bored. And it's like, maybe I need a little bit of a change to grow. Who knows if I'm even growing, or I'm just like running through the usual suspects here, So giving people that opportunity is their truth.
That's we talk to our students all the time about being present. Sometimes we're not good adults, good models as adults to do that. So I think that's a great lesson for all of us.
Hence why I added the professional development piece, because it was like, listen, I'm coming in here and I'm teaching these kids about mindfulness and wellness. And then I'd always get walked to the class and they're like, oh, what are you doing today? And then I say it and they're like, I think I need that. I'm like, you do need that. And it's like, why even do it unless there's someone that, like, I'm not going to be there. So why not? If someone's not going to do this after me, then why did I even do it in the first place? We need sustainability, and all teachers need that practice for themselves if we're going to preach it.
Absolutely. So as an artist, folks have their own rhythm and routine. What is your kind of creative process look like, from that first idea to seeing the finished mural on the wall? Had no idea that there was a virtual reality component until today, which was just unbelievably fascinating to me. But what is your process, your creative process from kind of beginning to end?
Yeah, well, creative process is like, where are we doing this first? Because I don't really like to create the design before I see the space. I think any design I make is very particular to the environment that it exists in. So once we have that, I came down to the school, we sat down and we looked at the space, and then we sit down together and we assess needs. We assess, how do we want to feel? What type of words or sayings or phrases really speak to this community? And I do this with every mural. And then what type of imagery really represents us? What are we trying to show here? And then is there any background, story, history that is relative to the particular thing that I'm doing? And I kind of take that giant grocery list. I assess the hierarchy of needs for how we're going to communicate the project. Mainly, and what I mean by that is like, who does it serve? And like, what are we hoping that they get out of it? And once we kind of determine how someone needs to engage with the mural, or like what's the hope for its goal, then I start taking all of those words and phrases and I pick the one that's most striking, and then that becomes my focal point. And then every other element kind of supports that giant theme. And then from there I design on the computer, and then I break it down into, I listen to a lot of that music we were listening to today at 852 hertz. I get in a zone, and then I'll either put it on a projector, or lately I've been using the virtual reality glasses because I can do it during the day. And the only reason I use them for this mural is because I wanted the kids to see that you don't just play games on virtual reality. Like, I make money on this, and I could have bought in the glasses time and time again over because of the return I've gotten from using them. And I could draw it by hand for 7 days, or I could do it in 5 hours with technology. And I think especially since some of those the visual literacy classes that happen in 6th grade, I think it was important for them to see how to utilize technology early.
Yeah.
And then I paint. It turns into a giant coloring book, and step by step it reaches its finish.
it's an amazing process, and to see it, I can't wait to go back. And I was looking at pictures from the beginning, and then to see it now, and then obviously we'll get to eventually see the final product. It's quite a journey. It's fun stuff. In that spirit, what advice would you give to our current students who just love creating and they want to use their art to make an impact, and maybe they think, oh, that's silly, or that's crazy, or you can't do that, or how do you do that? Like, what type of advice would you give to those students who have this interest and this passion and are looking to kind of shape it or direct it?
Yeah, there's three things that come to mind. One of them is a thought on an experience that I had that really solidified me doing my own personal murals versus teaching children how to paint murals. And I had no murals under my belt. I was just teaching all the time. And my program partner was like, Eugene, you teach so many people how to do this. You have to have your own. And I was like, maybe someday, maybe someday, right? You think it's always sometime later than right now. And there was a contest for the downtown bid of Albany Business Improvement District. And it was a contest for the walkway next to the MVP arena. And I don't do contests because it's for me, it's like time is money, and I should be making clothes right now. At the time I was still dueling, between both businesses. I was like, I don't have time to do a contest and not get paid. And he was like, she was like, you have to do it. And so I ended up submitting a proposal, and I won, out of like 20 something artists. And I had never really won anything like that, period. And that changed everything. It changed the environment of who was looking at my murals. There was a lot of city officials involved, a lot of professional individuals that I just never took the time to really experience. And it never really was my MO. It's like, I'm the artist and I'm with the kids, and that's really all I care about. But it changed my social status because I took a chance on it. And that changed everything. And then I started submitting more proposals, and I was winning them. Like, I just did Samaritan Hospital, and out of like 20 something proposals, 4 of us got picked. And I did the mental illness chemical addictions unit. And now it's like, I was never that person who did a contest, but now when I submit to contests, I'm one of the strongest candidates. And that really struck me as like, we have this imposter syndrome, and we're really always saying, because I haven't done it, I'm not good enough. But you haven't done it because you haven't tried. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. And with that, I would say kids are constantly waiting for permission to do the things, and it holds them back from realizing who they are early on. They're just, someone is supposed to tell you to do this. You take this test, and then you get better, or you get this recognition that says you're at the next level. Right. It's like, takes me to the next level is that I've spent more time doing this than the people next to me. It's like, I've personally dove in face first with the experience and found my way to the other side. It's like, we all try something new, just keep trying things that are new. And I think where people take a slower route to that is they don't evaluate 2 things, what they like and what they love. And the more you can make categories and figure out what's on the love side, you'll understand yourself a lot more. It's like, I like to paint. I love meeting people. I love engaging with people. I like to paint murals. I love creating community. So that doesn't always show up as a mural, but it is in this particular way how I engage community. So the more you understand the love side, the more you are stopping yourself from saying, that's not something I should be doing. It's like, what in your gut stands out first. And often most, just like changing your answer on a Scantron, like, kids talk themselves out of the things that they really truly want.
I think it's very insightful, and it is spot on in so many ways. I can't thank you enough for taking some time, not only to come here and come back to Algonquin, but to come onto the podcast and to share a little bit of your experience with us. Final product is going to be something that's going to really make an impression on our community and be here for a very long time. So thank you. I don't want to forget before the podcast ends to thank the Averill Park Education Foundation and the Algonquin Student Council for helping to bring you here with their funds. The foundation is always such a valuable partner for us. And once again, their work is felt throughout the district in so many ways. So thank you to them. And thank you to you, Eugene, for spending some time with us and contributing to your community once again.
I really am grateful. It's always a pleasure to be back home with familiar faces, and really thank you to everyone who was involved in getting me here. I mean, to think this all started from a Facebook message with Mrs. Baker, and that's what brought us to this grand moment. So I think that's just a really great sentiment to say that, we don't need these large rollouts of ideas. We just need to really engage within our community, right. Bring people back so that these kids have wonderful experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said, and a great way to end it. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. See you next time on Every Student, Every Day.